Welcome to Takeaways, Life Lessons Learned. And Lucy, I prepared some questions here to take us through your story, and we'll go through it.
Go ahead.
Instead of introducing you like I typically do, I have a podcast, and it's both on video and on audio, and I typically will interview folks and have conversations with them, and I will do an introduction, but I'm not going to do an introduction because I want you to do your own introduction so we can hear from you specifically.
Okay.
And before we get into your story, I just want to share a small story that happened just 2 weeks ago here in Las Vegas. My wife and I have 3 kids. We were both born here in Las Vegas when we were raising kids here, Jewish kids in Las Vegas, which is a pretty cool thing. Our oldest son is in the Israeli Scouts program here. And 2 weeks ago, they had their kind of season finale program where they do a challenge and earn a badge. And we were all at a park together. And our youngest daughter, Lily, was with us too because they had a little family picnic as well. And our middle daughter was a little tired because she was at dance all day. So she couldn't get herself the strength to go to a park. But I was there and I was with our youngest daughter, Lily, who's 6 years old. And I saw Noah come through. Noah, who is... What's her title now with IAC? International superstar?
And that's her husband over there.
Yes. And Noah came and I saw her with you and I said, can we go over? And Noah said, of course. And she took our daughter, Lily, to come and meet you. And I was standing back and I was observing this interaction happening.
Thank you.
Remember this?
Oh, yeah.
So here's a picture from 2 weeks ago here in Las Vegas in Summerlin. And I stood back and I got a little emotional because what I'm watching is my 6-year-old daughter holding the hand of Lucy, a Holocaust survivor, who this summer will be turning how old? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm going to be 95.
95.
I was 14 years old.
I have one more picture. A few moments after this picture, Lucy was then interacting with the Israeli Scouts, which is ages, call it 4th grade to 12th grade. And they were around her. You could see some of them in the background. And you showed them your tattoo just like you did. And I remember you saying, Elohim shomer oti, sheni saper te sipur ma masu lanu.
Nachon.
Which is Hebrew for
God is telling me to tell my story for everybody. They should know what happened to 6 million Jews.
And so I asked Noah, listen, for me that was quite moving. I'd like to do something with Lucy in my podcast, record it to put it out there. And she said, great. As you know, Noah's a get stuff done kind of person. She said, this was April 2nd, by the way. She said, April 19th it is. Go ahead and get ready. And so here we are. And thank you for being here, Lucy.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for coming to listening to me.
So now, if you could tell us, what is your full name and where were you born?
My name is Lucy Jacobs. My birth name is Lucy Glick. I was born in Czechoslovakia in 1928, July 15. That's my real birthday.
How many siblings did you have?
I was from 7 children, and I'm the only one left. They all died in concentration camp. I held on to my mother on one side and my little sister on the other side. And Mengele, the bastard, he cut me off from my mother's arm, and he sent me to the left, and my mom and my little sister to the right, straight to the gas. I didn't know. So I was yelling, Ma, don't leave me. Ma, wait for me. They were pushing her. The Nazis were pushing her. And she left. And I was a little girl crying, 14 years old, going alone on the street there between the wires. I didn't know where I was. Crying. Comes to me a guy. Never ever saw him in my life. With striped clothes. And I didn't know. I thought he's mental. Striped clothes. I never saw that. And he says to me, little girl, how old are you? How do you speak? I says, I speak Jewish. Because I didn't speak Polish. I didn't speak any other language. I says, I speak Jewish. You speak Jewish? He says, yeah, I'm a Jew. He says, how old are you? I said, I'm 14 years old. He says, no, from now on you are 16. And I said to him, but I never lied. He said, now you're going to lie. I didn't know what he meant with it. And he left. And I never, ever saw him again in my life.
Was he already a prisoner in the concentration camp?
He was a prisoner in concentration camp with the striped clothes from the camp. I didn't know anything what it meant. I was just brand new, getting off of the cattle train and pushing me on the left and my mom on the right, and I was all strange, alone, crying, kid. So he left, and I was pushed more in the camp, more. The Nazis were pushing. I got in with a bunch of ladies, older ladies than me. I was a kid. And they put us into a zona. It's called a zona. That was a place where they had showers. They got us undressed, naked, cut our hair, took away the clothes, and gave us a muumuu dress, bare head, nothing, bare nothing, no panties, no nothing. Just a muumuu dress, a gray muumuu dress. One fits for all. Fat, skinny, everything went. And cut our hair. We were bald. Looked at each other like monkeys. So they pushed us outside for a count. What the hell they were counting us? 5 in a row, like soldiers, to count us how many people we are. Only women. Men were separate in a different camp with barbed wires. They counted us, we stayed in 5, and they counted us in the cold weather. It was just after Passover. And it was still cold there, not even April, March. And we were freezing, naked, barefooted. They took away the shoes. They took away the clothes. I put my clothes in one bed. I figured I'm going to come out from that shower. I'm going to find everything. Oh, we didn't go through that door anymore. So we were stranded and barefooted, naked. And we stayed outside for Tzelapel. It's called Tzelapel. That meant to count. And they were counting us. Why? I don't know. They counted us, they assessed, and then we went into a barrack. To a big barrack that had bunks. No pillow, no blanket, no nothing. Just the wood. 3-layer bunk. That was in Auschwitz. We got in there during the night. You know, a lot of ladies had babies. And they took the baby and gave it to the mother. And they sent her for work with me. And they were crying after their babies. Their milk was shooting out. And the SS woman came and started to shoot in the ceiling to keep them quiet. We got on those bunks, 5 people on 1 layer. Started to break down because some of them were heavier, some of them scarier. And the 3rd floor was coming down on the 2nd and 1. It was a chaos. So the SS woman came in, started to shoot on the ceiling to keep us quiet. We got scared, so we kept quiet. This was the first night. Never forget it in my life. The next day morning, we had heard a bell, 4 o'clock in the morning. We had to get out on a count again. What they were counting us, I don't know. We had to stay in 5 like soldiers, and they were counting us, women, naked head, in that muumuu dress. That's all what we had. That's all what we owned. Took away my shoes because they liked my shoes. Anyway, this was how our life started. It was not easy. I wanted to kill myself not once, but we were all surrounded with barbed wires, electric, all barbed wired. So if you go and touched it, you killed yourself. And they had guards on top of those little guards. And that's how we lived. First 5 days, I couldn't eat nothing because there was a mush garbage. I wasn't used to it, the garbage. So I didn't eat for 5 days, but I got so hungry that I would have eaten a rock. And I started to eat that mush. No choice. And walking around crying and crying. And so the chimney was going. 3 crematoriums they had. 3 chimneys were going day and night, burning the people. Gas them and burn them. And I smelled the smell. From those people, the stench came out from the fire. 3 of them burned day and night because they were sending in a lot of people, including my parents. And that was our life. I lived there in Auschwitz. Finally, I got to work. They picked me for work. I stood up on a rock to keep a little taller, and they picked me for work. First, we were working. We had to change the water. It was going this way. We had to change it this way. That's how the Nazis wanted. So we stood in water and digging. And our feet got, don't ask. The shoes, I didn't have my own shoes. They gave me some wooden clogs. Anyway, we were digging about a couple of months until we dug, the water should go the opposite direction. Then from there, we finished up the job. The feet were, half rotten from the water. And I was picked from there to another job. I was a little frisky girl, and I was always stood up high. And the SS woman picked me to a kitchen. Oh, I was so happy. This was already more than a half a year I was there suffering. They picked me into a kitchen where they were not peeling, not washing, just cutting the junk, what they brought in with trucks, and they shoot them down the ground, and we had to pick it up, take it in the kitchen, and cut it so they could go into a pressure cooker. So a big pressure cooker, couple of pressure cookers, and they cooked them. It was beets like they gave for the pigs. Not regular. You know, we had to cut them up, and they had to be cooked. And that's what they served for the people. After they were cooked, we had to put them in cans, in milk cans, and they came with 2 sticks and carried them in, and they were given out by the Blockertester. She was the chief of the block. And she handed them out with the garbage bag over there, what she had, not a pot. And that was our life for a while. I mean, for a while, for a good time. And from the kitchen, I wound up in the kitchen, and I cooked 700-liter pressure cooker. Twice a day, I had to empty it and fill it. Twice a day, 700-liter, a big pressure cooker. That was my job. And the SS women started to like me. They called me the Kleine Lucy, the little Lucy, because I was very frisky and very fast. But that was our life. And sometimes I could steal something from what they put in, and put it in the charcoal and burn it there and eat it. What if I got caught? Forget it. I would have been thrown out from the kitchen. But that was life. And this was going on a long time in Auschwitz, until Auschwitz was taken by the Russians.
How long were you there before that in Auschwitz?
I was a long time. The Russians came in January 1945. And I was there already before, more than a year. And the Russians were coming closer, so they put us on a dead march. They didn't want us to be liberated by the Russians. So they put us in a line, and they chased us under, walking. Some people sat down, and they got a shot right away, and they died. But some of us walked, dragged, and we were going from one camp to another. They didn't have room for women, only for men. So they took off the men, and the women were still walking until we got to Bergen-Belsen. I don't know if you heard about it. It was a death camp. I arrived to Bergen-Belsen, they had typhus.
Do you know how many miles it was from Auschwitz to Bergen-Belsen?
Do I measure it?
I'm curious, I don't know.
No, I was a little girl, I didn't know miles. No. It was really very tiring. We were half dead. A lot of them died on the road because they couldn't make it. I was pulled because if I couldn't walk, I had friends there, they were pulling me. No, you're not going to die. I guess it wasn't my time. They were pulling me, they were helping me. And then I wound up in Bergen-Belsen after a year and a half from Auschwitz in Bergen-Belsen. And I said, this is a death trap here. Everybody had typhus. No bunks, nothing. On the ground, we didn't have nothing there. So I saw my death. I said, I worked in the kitchen, and I would like to go and see who is there. Maybe I could work again. Otherwise, I'm going to die. So I took my chance, because if you went into the kitchen, you got a beating. You were not allowed to get in there. So I said, I'll get a beating. It's better than to die from hunger. So I walked in, and who was there? The Oberschaftführer. I don't know if you know what it is. He was an officer, an old officer, because he couldn't go on the front. So they put him between the concentration camp people to watch them, an SS. And he worked in that kitchen. And I walked in, I said, I'll get a beating. And I saw him, my heart grew. He was the SS man that I worked for. I said to him, Herr Oberschaftführer, what are you doing here? He said, Kleine Lucy. I was called the Kleine, the little Lucy. Kleine Lucy, was machst du hier? I said, I just came from the march. I said, I would like to work. I figured if I'm not going to work, I'm going to die. The whole camp was typhus. And no bunks. We laid on the ground. Not even a floor. Just the dirt like outside. That was our life over there in Bergen-Belsen. And I saw what's going on, that people were left and lie dead because they had typhus. And I wound up working again in the kitchen and got typhus too. I survived typhus without medication. When I was liberated by the British, they picked me up from the ground like a baby. They only saw my eyes. They said, I only knew English, nothing. And they said, look her eyes, look her eyes. My eyes were bulging. I was no skin and bone. And they saved my life. They put me in a hospital, and they saved my life. And that was my end. I went back home to Czechoslovakia to look who is alive for my family. I find a sister who lived in Hungary as a Christian.
Now, you're still a little girl at this point.
And I was still a little girl. I was only 14 years old. But on the papers, I was 16. I was a little girl. I came home, but I couldn't stand my home. I looked for my mom and dad all over. I couldn't find them. So came an uncle who came back from the army, from the war. And I fell over him and I said, Uncle, if you're not going to take me away, I'm going to kill myself. I can't take it. I can't take it. I'm going from room to cry. And I don't want to live here. I just want to get... So he took me away, took me to Prague, and that was my survival. I got married. I was 16 years old. And I had a baby when I was 17. I married a man 20 years older. I had no choice. I had nobody to feed me, nobody to give me a glass of water. So I had to do what I had to do. And that's my life. Now God took my leg, gave me a stroke, but thank God he didn't take my brain.
This is for sure.
I'm thanking God that I have my brain, that I could tell you for everybody what happened to 6 million Jews. And I was a witness of it, right there and then, a little girl. But God is good to me, brought me to America. My grandfather lived in America. And I lived in Europe, and this is what happened to all of us. We should have come to America years ago. But God, I guess, God did his own work. It wasn't so easy to come to America. And we had it. They picked us. I don't know why they picked the Jews. I don't know why. What did we do? We didn't do anything. I was a little kid. Well, look, it happened, and I have to tell, God is keeping me, I'm 94 years old, to tell the story, what happened to 6 million people. 6 million Jews were killed. Nobody did nothing. Nobody. America was sleeping, England was sleeping, everybody was sleeping. Nobody did nothing. Nobody stopped those trains, those cattle trains, not to go to Auschwitz. Nobody. Where was the world? I'm saying, where were the people? Nobody stopped. They should have stopped the trains. They should have killed us right in Czechoslovakia, not taking us to be punished and to suffer. My mom and dad, they went right to the gas. And my little sister and my brothers, why? What did we do? We didn't do nothing because we were Jewish. That's why we got it. I think God forgot us. He forgot the Jewish people. You know, there were rabbis, and there were a lot of Hasidic people. They were screaming, Shema Israel. Nothing helped. Nothing. They all went to the gas chamber. All the people. They made a selection, left, right, left, left, right. Unfortunately, I was sent to the left. My mom to the right, my little sister. I never saw her again. That was it. That was it. We traveled together in a cattle train. We were 60 people in one wagon. No bathroom, no nothing. We traveled like that for more than almost 2 weeks from Czechoslovakia to Auschwitz, to Birkenau. We didn't know where we were going. They locked us up. The trains were locked, not cattle trains, not regular trains. We were locked in. If we could have jumped out through the window, we would have jumped out. Little tiny windows and all barbed wires. So we couldn't even jump out. This is what happened to the Jewish people. And we didn't do nothing wrong. We were citizens like anybody else, working people. My daddy happened to be an animal doctor, a veterinarian, and he helped whoever he could. But God also took him. They didn't even live a day in Auschwitz. Same day they got killed. They burned them to ashes, and they threw down the ashes in the ocean. We don't even know. There was no burial or anything. All down the ocean. That's it. I don't even have a graveyard to go to cry. No? I go here around to cemeteries and I light candles. Happened to be in Carson City just 2 days ago on Adelson's plane. And I lit a candle there for the 6 million Jews. Yeah, I flew. Even I am a handicap, but I'm still going and doing what I can.
Are you open if some of the folks here ask you some questions?
Anything you want to ask me, I'll answer. Go ahead. Anything anybody wants to ask.
How did you get to Las Vegas?
Excuse me?
How did you get to Las Vegas?
Because I have a son here. That's how I got here. I lived in Florida. I was very happy there. And my daughter passed in Florida. I had an only daughter who was born in Israel. And she passed on me, young. So I had one son here and one daughter there. So my son said, "Ma, would be nice if you come here. So we'd be together and I could watch you. And you're not going to be alone there." So I did it. But I made a mistake because over here, the weather is not good for me. A lot of dust, and that is killing me. I'm on the nebulizer twice a day because of the dust. But you do what you have to do. You did it before, you're doing it now.
What was life like before the war for you?
Excuse me?
What was life like before the war?
Peaches and cream. I had a wonderful life. I never knew from any bad stuff. I was a kid, 14 years old, going still to school. I didn't finish my high school, never. I wanted to go back after the war, but I had nobody to support me.
When were you separated from your father?
My father and mother the same time. Same time. When we came to Auschwitz, we were separated. I was separated and they were separated. I was sent to the left, they were sent to the right. They didn't know where they're going.
Did your family hear anything about the Nazis coming before they came to take you?
No.
No, nothing.
We never knew that there is going to be a war and there is going to be Nazis and they're going to kill the Jews. Who thought about that? We had a normal, good life, like you had here in America. Nobody knew. If we would have known, we still couldn't do nothing. To go to Russia? Where? America, you couldn't come here. This, you know, that time the president, he sent back a ship with Jews. Roosevelt, right? I was a little girl, and I remember that Roosevelt sent back a ship with Jews, and they got killed because he won't let them in, right? I came legal because my grandfather lived here, and I had cousins here and aunts here. So I came with paper, with a passport. The only way you could come in here. And we were interrogated in Tel Aviv and all over, if we are communists or what. You know, it wasn't easy to get into United States. We had to go through all that interrogation. And by the way, I'll tell you, I speak 6 languages. I learned a lot of languages in concentration camp. There were Polish, there were Czechs, there were Hungarian, there were Russian. You name them, they were there. All kind of Jewish, non-Jewish, few non-Jewish people too. Because they were politic. They didn't agree with Hitler, so they put them to concentration camp. Anybody wants anything to know?
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about when you realized it went past your personal experience and you realized the extent of the 6 million Jews?
I can hear you, excuse me. You get up, come closer to me. Okay, go ahead, ask me. Go ahead. No, don't cry.
I just want to say it.
I know. It's hard.
When did you learn, and talk about how you learned past your personal experience, the extent of how it was 6 million people, and how did you connect with others to say, oh my God, we went through this, we survived. I mean, when, you know, you're one person, but then when you realize it was such scale, when did you realize that, and how did you even deal with that?
Darling, I only knew all that after the war. In the war, in the concentration camp, I didn't know nothing. I barely knew my name.
Mm-hmm. And how did you, was it through news stories or talking with other people, or how long did it take for you to understand?
To open up, to
right,
talk.
And to understand how big it was.
I started to talk when I came to United States of America, which I was a young girl. And I started to talk. I said to myself, somebody has to tell the world what happened to 6 million people. And I decided I'm going to do it. As long as God keeps my brain, I say thank you.
And does that help you feel any sense of peace, or is there any way for you to have peace or to have solace, or
Peace of what?
just to sleep at
Peace
night?
of life?
Yes, to sleep at night.
I mean, you know, you take it as it comes. No choice. This is life. Everybody has a different story in life. And I have mine.
Yeah.
I know it's not all peaches and cream, but you live it through. As long as you're not in a concentration camp, you could live it through. You walk free, you talk free, thank God.
So when they came to your house and what they told you, where are you going?
Where I was born, they announced it on the radio. All the Jews has to get out from their homes. And we were hustled into a ghetto. To a ghetto nowhere. We couldn't take no furniture. We couldn't take nothing. We just, the way we stood. I was a kid. So my mother packed in some food. And we were walking. Whoever took us in, there was a ghetto. And we had to go to the ghetto. The ghetto was locked up. So we were in a ghetto locked up, right in our city. And we had to find a place where to live. So somebody gave us one room for all of us. We were 7 children and my parents. And we had all of us one room. So we managed until we were told us to go. We were in a brick factory. From the brick factory, they took us on the cattle train to ship us to Auschwitz.
How long were you in the ghetto?
In the ghetto, we were 2 months. 2 months suffering. In one room, we were 9 people. Yeah. We shared one room, laid on the floor. We had no beds, on the floor. But we were still in our city. And the ghetto was locked. Nobody was allowed to get out or to come in. Nobody. It was locked up, like we were already in prison then, in our own city, where I was born and raised. And my daddy worked hard and paid the taxes. Nothing helped. Everybody was looking there. The Christian people were walking around and doing nothing, not to help us. Not even bring us food in. We were already starting to be hungry. Because we were not home in our home. It was not easy. Life is not easy. Life is not easy. So you better cherish America. Nothing like America. Thank God for America.
Lucy, do you remember what year you came to your grandfather here in America?
Excuse me?
What year you came to America to be with your
I
grandfather?
never knew my grandfather. He was dead already.
But do you remember what year you came from Czechoslovakia to the United States?
What year did you come to America?
I came to America in 1948. No, excuse me, in 50.
50.
Yeah.
So my question on that is, did you ever consider going to Tel Aviv?
I've been in Israel many times
Okay.
because I go there to Yad Vashem,
Okay.
where I go for my parents. Right?
Tell us about from Prague. You went from, after being liberated, you went to Prague, right?
Yes. I
And then
went
you
to
got
look
married?
for some siblings.
You looked for siblings, and then you got married in Prague?
I got married in Prague to a Czech soldier. He was 20 years older than me.
And where did you go from Prague?
From Prague, I lived in Teplice. It's another city, also Czechoslovakia. And my husband had a business, and I was a little girl. And he took me in, and I had what to eat, and I was already going to business. And that was my life.
But then you went to Israel? Because you said...
I went to Israel with my husband. He was 20 years older.
Yeah.
And he was very, very jealous of me. I was a young kid. He was 20 years older. I was 16, he was 36. So I got divorced right here in America. Got divorced and remarried with a man with 4 children. I raised 4 children of his, American children. It wasn't easy, but I did it. I did it. I raised them, I cooked, I baked, I worked. I was not a lazy person. I'm driving a car since I came to America. For years. Unfortunately, I got a stroke, so I can't do nothing. But I was a very brisky woman. Nothing was frightening me, nothing. Drove a car, taught the kids how to drive, everything. If you know New York, I'll tell you where I lived. I lived in Scarsdale, New York. My husband had a business in New Rochelle for 45 years. My second husband.
Did you live in Israel with your first husband?
I didn't live in Israel
just
for
visited?
10 years.
Oh, you did?
We were the pioneers. We brought the ammunition in 1948. It wasn't Israel yet when we came, it was Palestine. The British were just pulling out. We came with the Haganah, the fighters. My husband was an officer in the army, so he was working with the youngsters, teach them how to shoot. We brought out the ammunition. I carried an ammunition, a gun, in my son's baby pillow into Israel. They didn't find it. If they would find me, they would shoot me. And I didn't care. I had to bring it. When my husband saw the gun that I brought it in, he almost fainted. He says, "What did you do?" I says, "Here it is. In my baby's pillow." Yeah. I was a daredevil. I was. Excuse me?
You still are, he said.
No,
you
I'm
still
not.
are.
No, I'm not. God took me away my leg. Otherwise, I would be still a daredevil. But listen, age is a number. And that's what I am. I wish I could turn it back. But not everything. After I was liberated, that I would like to turn back, but not my back life there. No. It was not easy to live through a concentration camp. With the barbed wires, never in my life I thought I'm going to be like in a barbed wire place, not to be able to get out, not to be able to have food. Who thought about it? No? I was a kid. Happy-go-lucky.
How do you get the strength to continue after such an ordeal?
You have to ask him. Not me. He did it.
Out of life experience.
He did it. God gave me strength. I don't know why. He wanted me to be here to tell you the real story. He's still keeping me here. And thank God he's keeping my brain. There I'm thankful every single day because at my age, it's already hard to keep the brain together.
Lucy, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your faith with God? Did this break your faith with God, or did it strengthen your faith in God? And 2, did you ever go back to Auschwitz?
Me?
Yes.
Never.
Did you not see it as wanting to go back to show that you went back there and you won?
I don't want to see that place in my life, not even in my dream, not to go back. No. I suffered there and I won't go back, no. That's a no-no.
Tell us about your faith in God.
I believe in God. God saved me. That's why I'm here, talking to you. If not Him, I wouldn't be here. Plain simple. I was a kid. I believe in God, always. I was raised like that. My daddy raised me like that, to believe in God. My daddy helped poor people in the city because we had the money, so he helped them. Somebody walked over and said, Dr. Glick, I don't have chalif for Saturday for my children. He took out money he gave him. He said, don't you ever say to anybody, not even to mother, that I gave money. You know, that's not a good deed, a mitzvah, if you talk about it. That's it. You give, shut up.
Lucy, besides working in the kitchen, what did you do in the concentration camp to keep your mind sharp or to pass the time? To try to, forget about what was going on and try to, get through it?
Nothing. They didn't give you nothing. They gave you there more to think about it. Nothing. They didn't give you food. They didn't give you clothes. They didn't give you a piece of bread like that every single night. Not real bread. It was like for pigs. But we had to eat it. If not, they stole it from you during the night. Yeah. That was our life. I never, ever dreamed about it that I ever going to be free. No. But if God wants you, He does it. Why He didn't keep my family, my sisters, my brothers? I'm the only one from 7 kids. I guess He chose me to be able to tell you all what happened. And this is a real, true story, not a made-up story. No.
So Lucy, so when you guys got to Auschwitz, when did you get the tattoo?
The tattoo I got after a half a year because they put me to work and they gave me the tattoo because I wound up working in the kitchen and I guess they didn't want me just have a number. And when I got the number, I was happy because that meant they won't put me in the gas. They were still putting in the gas. If you felt sick, that's all what it did, put you in the gas. No hospital or anything or any medication, God forbid. Mold, cold, naked, barefooted. Took away my shoes, gave me a wooden clocks. I couldn't walk in them. That was our life. Worse than animals. We treat the animals better than we were treated. My daddy was an animal doctor, and we treated the animals better than I was treated. But if God wants, He does miracles. He kept me alive. So I'll be able to tell in America what went on with us.
When you were liberated, did you stay in touch with anybody that was also liberated?
No, we all parted because everybody was looking for somebody to meet, a relative, a Polish. They went back, each of us separated. No.
Lucy, when you were in the camp, at what point did you realize, that they were killing people in the gas chambers? How?
Darling, I was 14 years old. And when I was there a week, they boiled me, they took away my clothes, I was half naked, no food, I couldn't eat, and the chimneys were going, and I knew that they were burning the people. And I wanted to die too. Not once I wanted to go to the barbed wire and kill myself. You just had to touch it and you got burned.
Did you actually see people?
Excuse me?
Did you actually see people go
Doing
and electrocute
it.
themselves?
Oh, yeah. People that didn't want to live the way I lived, they went to the barbed wires and they killed themselves. Didn't take too long just to get electrocuted. He was surrounded with barbed wires. I don't know why. You know what it said on the main gate when you walked into Auschwitz? Arbeit macht das Leben frei. They should live so long. You know what that means? Work means they're going to be free. Das Leben frei.
I have a question. After the war, when you returned to your house, would you found your personal stuff over there, like pictures or nothing?
No. The neighbors took it apart.
Wow.
The non-Jewish neighbors helped themselves. Look, there was we had a super. He helped himself. He went into our house. He picked up all the floors. He figured we hid the gold there. But he was stupid. My father was a very smart guy. Hid the gold in the wall. Took out a brick, put it the same size a box, and he hid it in the wall. Painted again the house. Nobody knew. He picked up the whole floor, the whole house, looking for the gold.
So was it still there when you went back to the house?
Excuse me?
The gold. Was there any gold left when you went back to the house?
I did go back. I did go back. But my sister is older from me by 6 years. She was liberated. She was not in concentration camp. She lived in Budapest as a designer. I was too young to leave. But my daddy let her go to Budapest, to Hungary. And she lived through in Hungary as a Christian.
She pretended.
And she went home in January 1945.
She pretended to be Christian when the war broke out?
She wore a cross on the...
And that's how she survived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a designer, fashion designer. She was 20 years old, so my daddy let her go. I was still a kid. And she survived the war in Budapest, and she went home when the Russians liberated Czechoslovakia. She went home with them.
Did she take the gold out of the wall? Your sister? Did your sister take the gold out of the wall?
Yes, she knew exactly where it was because my daddy told us all kids to measure the steps where it was.
Wow.
He was a smart man. My mom sewed us buttons from gold here in case we have to buy a piece of bread. So we have a gold piece. No, they took our clothes. Yeah. That was our life, our destiny, I guess. And God wants me here for a reason, I don't know what. 94.
Ad 120, as they say.
Chas v'chalila.
In Hebrew, there's a saying.
God forbid.
May you live until 120, and that's what I said to her.
And I said, God forbid.
God forbid.
I don't want to live to 120. Enough is enough.
We're all grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
And grateful that you're sharing your story.
Thank you so much for coming and listening. Thanks a million. You are wonderful.
Thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you about your takeaways from this episode.
make sure to leave us a comment or leave us a review. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can hear future episodes as they come out. My name is Hayim Mizrahi. Tune in next time.